Welcome to another episode of Larry Reidy's America, where we honor the people and moments that built our great nation. I'm your host, Larry Reidy, and this is the first of, well, I should say the first, this is the first video podcast that I've done. I've got 400 or so that are just regular audio podcasts, but I'm doing this for YouTube. And all of my podcasts can be reached at larryreidy.net. You hit listen. There are 400 or so available. Got doctors, lawyers, police chiefs, fire chiefs, head of industries, you name it. And also, it's available on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, iHeartRadio, any important podcast site that's available. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. This is the first. This is P1, episode P1 for presidents. I'll be doing 46 of them. Try to keep it between 10 and 20 minutes. And we're starting off with today, we turn the spotlight to a man who defined what it means to be a leader and patriot. George Washington, the very first president of the United States, and a man who never sought greatness, but achieved it through sheer duty, courage, and humility. Let's take a journey through the remarkable life of the man we call the father of our country. George Washington was born on February 22nd, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia. His father, Augustine Washington, was a prosperous planter. Still, when George was just 11, his father passed away, leaving him without the advantages of a formal British education that many elite Virginians received. Despite this, young George proved resourceful and disciplined. He worked as a land surveyor in the rugged frontier of Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. By the age of 17, those long days in the wilderness, charting rivers and mountain ranges, shaped a man of focus, resilience, and independence. Qualities that would one day help build a nation, help build the nation. Sorry, I'm reading this. I'm trying to be outside because I keep getting reflections off my computer from my research. So anyway, just bear with me. He quickly earned a reputation for fairness, physical strength, and a commanding presence, standing well over 6 feet tall, a rarity in those times. Washington's military path began during the French and Indian War, part of the global 7 Years' War. At just 22 years old, he led a risky expedition into the Ohio Valley, where his action helped ignite the conflict between Britain and France on American soil. He faced early defeats, including the disastrous Battle of Fort Necessity, but he also displayed extraordinary bravery and leadership. Though he was never given a regular British Army commission, a slight that would stay with him, he gained first-hand battlefield experience that prepared him for the coming revolution. By the war's end, Washington returned to Virginia, married the wealthy widow Martha Custis, and settled into the life as a planter at Mount Vernon. But the seeds of rebellion were already being planted. As tensions between the American colonies and Britain escalated, Washington was chosen in 1775 to lead the Continental Army. It was a daunting task. The colonists were outmanned, outgunned, and outfinanced. Yet he understood that the real battle wasn't just over land, it was over liberty. The war was long and bitter. Washington endured defeats in New York, retreats across New Jersey, and the brutal winters at Valley Forge. His troops often lacked food, shoes, and even ammunition, but Washington held them together with sheer will and with the help of foreign allies like Lafayette and von Steuben. He built a fighting force that would eventually triumph. The turning point came in 1781 at Yorktown, where British General Cornwallis surrendered. The war was over, America was free, and George Washington, unlike many before him, resigned his command and returned to civilian life. The act stunned the world. In an era of kings and dictators, Washington voluntarily relinquished power. He didn't want to rule, he wanted the people to govern themselves. After a brief retirement, Washington was called back, this time to lead the nation he had helped win. In 1789, he was unanimously elected the first president of the United States. He entered office reluctantly, aware that everything he did would set a precedent. And indeed, he created many traditions that we still follow. The 2-year term limit, the cabinet system, the title Mr. President, even the inaugural address. Washington led with integrity and restraint. He navigated early crises from political divisions to economic instability, always prioritizing unity over personal interests. He resisted entangling the nation in foreign alliances and worked to keep this fragile nation together. His most powerful moment came when he chose not to seek the third term. In 1796, he stepped down, issuing a farewell address in which he warned against the dangers of political parties and foreign entanglements, warnings that remain relevant to this day. George Washington retired where he hoped to live out, well, he retired again in Mount Vernon, where he hoped to live out his days in peace. But just 3 years later, on December 14th, 1799, he passed away after a brief illness. He was 67. His death was mourned across the country and around the world. Even Britain, once his enemy, honored him with a moment of silence. But Washington's most incredible legacy was not a battlefield victory or a presidential policy. It was the idea that power belongs to the people. He refused to become king. His commitment to the Constitution and his example of service over self set a standard for all those who followed. George Washington was a great president and a person. I have to ignore the culture and ignorance of some of the founding fathers owning slaves. It was a thing of the times, and I don't think his presidency or the type of person that he really was has any bearing on this. In fact, he somewhere, he freed all of his slaves. I don't remember if it was in his will after death or before death, but all of his slaves were freed. George Washington was more than a general or a president. He was a symbol of what American could become, a man of action. Yes, but more important, a man of character. He believed in sacrifice, in unity, and in a future shaped not by bloodlines, but by ideals. As we reflect on his life, may we be reminded that freedom must be earned, defended, and above all, guided by men and women of principle. Thank you for joining me on Larry Reidy's America. If today's story inspired you, please share this episode, leave a review, and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of our history. Until next time, stay proud, stay grateful, and God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.